Wrapping up our Saturday Week 15 games, we have an amazing one here with the Denver Broncos flying up to Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions here. Honestly, never would have thought that this game would be this impactful this late in the season. Lions are currently leading the NFC North, and I will say have a fairly firm grasp on the NFC North here. They are 2.5 games up on the Green Bay. Well, 2 games up on the Minnesota Vikings, but I'm not too concerned about the Minnesota Vikings. The team actually I'm looking at right now is the Green Bay Packers, which they are 2.5 games up on. Packers play tomorrow night. We're recording this on Sunday against the New York Giants. I'm going to guess that is a win for the Packers here, but hey, you still have to play the game. So I just say 2 games up on their division rivals. But still 2 games to play against the Minnesota Vikings, who have not been playing well. The Broncos actually are 7-6 in a 6-way tie for 2 of the final wild card spots, and only a game behind the Cleveland Browns. And I will say, you look at the Cleveland Browns schedule here. No offense against your New England Patriots, but they play the Lions here. Then they play the Patriots next week. Then they play the Chargers and the Raiders. Chargers and the Raiders total between those 2 teams put up only 7 points in Week 14. So. For a team like Denver, who doesn't put up a lot of points, but has honestly been winning games through very unique kind of ways, I would say, those are very favorable matchups, I think, to end the final week and the final couple of weeks. And don't put it past Kansas City to potentially falter on a couple more weeks, and they're only a game behind Kansas City for the AFC West division. So very, very, very crucial matchup here in Week 15 for both of these teams. Broncos pulled out a victory here against the Chargers against Week 14, and the Lions actually lost to Chicago in pretty convincing fashion. And it's one of the things I want to throw over to you, Ryan, is what are your thoughts on the Lions and how they've been playing these past couple of weeks? They do not seem to be the same Lions team that we remember them being in the first half of the season.
I think they've kind of lost their power punch, I guess. Like they don't seem to be playing with the same amount of physicality. They're not moving teams off the ball how they were in the beginning of the year. And then also Jared Goff. I don't know what he's kind of gotten the yips a little bit. I think he has 9 total turnovers in the last 3 weeks. 10 total turnovers in the last 3 weeks.
The last couple of weeks, not entirely sure. I know he has 10 picks on the season so far. 5 of them have gone to Chicago, which is one of the worst secondaries in the league, which I find unique.
I think he had 3 interceptions, 3 fumbles, a fumble and an interception, and then 2 interceptions. That would be the last 4 games. But that would be 10 total turnovers in the last 4 games, which is just, you can't do that in the NFL. That is, you will lose. And actually, they're 2-2 in the last 4 games. And it's really interesting to kind of see them falter here a little bit. I'm be interested to see kind of what they do this week. It is a kind of a short week. They're playing on Saturday night. So probably we'll have a walkthrough on Friday instead of Saturday. So it'll speed the process up by a week. So they won't have as much time to make as many adjustments. And they just don't seem to be performing all that well. I don't know what it is, but they're just not quite the same team.
I'm trying to pull this up here now because one of the things that has been unique to me seeing this team. I'll just pull up Pro Football Reference here because they'll have the breakdown of the overall stats. But offensively, they haven't had the same punch, I feel, as what it has been over these past. No, not 2021 stats. Darn it, Google. But they're giving up a lot more points defense. I think one of the things we talked about kind of the lead up to this game against Chicago was like maybe some of the defensive injuries had started to pile up a little bit. But one of the things too, as well, is I feel offensively the running game, it for some reason, just overall the offense just hasn't been nearly as effective. For some reason, they're still rushing. They've still rushed for over 100 yards in their past 5 games, and today I don't believe was any different. As I pull up the stats here for the team, they had 140 rushing yards here today, 66 for both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, very evenly split with 21 carries between the 2 of them. But passing the ball wise, though, you're right. Goff got sacked 4 times. He been getting sacked more and not taking care of the ball nearly as much. It does seem like it is Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't had the same punch that he's had. Sam Laporta, his effectiveness has kind of fallen off a little bit. I don't know if it's just a game plan type thing or if I would say if it is all come from the quarterback altogether. But there's just something they've lost that explosiveness. They've lost that ability. It seemed like to stretch the defense to where they're still able to run the ball decently effectively, but then at the same time they're not able to back it up in the passing game, which I think kind of mitigates some of that explosiveness on the offense. At the same time, also too defensively, this Bears offense has improved, yes, but this is now 2 games now that the Lions have played the Bears this season, where they scored 28 points or more, or in the high 20s.
30, 31, and then I forget what they scored today.
Yeah, 28. So
28, yeah.
But in general, though, Lions definitely seems to be a little faltered. Even there was an interview today with Dan Campbell, post-game interview, and essentially the report asked is like, team doesn't seem to be playing nearly as well. And Dan Campbell's like, well, I'll be much more annoying and be much tougher on them. And that's pretty easy for me to do because this is in like the heart of the season right now for this team. They have an opportunity here to fight for home field advantage. They had an opportunity here to kind of stay in it. If they win this game, then they'll stay tied with the Niners, potentially even tie up with the Eagles if they lose to the Cowboys, which we're recording this right now on Sunday Night Football. But this team overall just is not as explosive. And we really started to see that, I would say, from when we saw them play the first time against the Bears. They took a miraculous fourth quarter comeback to win. Then ever since that Packers game on Thanksgiving Day, it has been tough. I feel for the Lions to just be that dominant Super Bowl contending team that we all thought that they could be.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, I think, to look at how these two teams' seasons have kind of been quite the juxtaposition of each other. The Broncos started out, I believe, 1-4, and were one of the worst teams in the league through the first third of the season. 1-5, and then they went on a 5-game winning streak. They lost a really close game to the Texans last week, and then this week they put out a pretty dominant performance against the Chargers in a 24-7 victory, in injuring Justin Herbert in the process. Not that that's like a goal for them to try to achieve, but just they were getting after the passer a lot in that matchup. So let's go ahead and get into our predictions here. But first, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I, we have a unique goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. So if you could help us reach that goal, that would be very much appreciated. Tyler, I'm going to throw it over to you. Who do you have coming out ahead in this matchup?
So this was going back and forth here. The Broncos, I will say, they have just been consistent ever since they've been on this. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. They've just been consistent, both offensively and defensively. I know defensively, statistically, they're not super great, but I think a lot of that is skewed to some of their earlier first couple of games of the season. Like that Miami game is just a huge outlier, just in general. But and Detroit, it is still Detroit. Goff, if they're going to play poorly, now's the time, I would say, to do it, just because of like, okay, you can figure some stuff out by Christmas and then go into the playoffs headstrong. And they have a fairly easy schedule too after this week with their game against the Broncos here. Let's pull it up because I know they go Vikings, Cowboys is actually very tough, and then Vikings again. So Vikings games are much easier than the Cowboys. I will say that. So, but also that being said, though, too, Denver, as I mentioned, has an easy schedule towards the end of the season. I'm actually going to go with the away team here. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. I have been impressed with how they've been playing overall. They're not the flashiest of teams, but also too, I feel like they're not like just winning games in such a gritty like that, like a dirty kind of like Tennessee Titans type way where it does not look very impressive. They do it with just really speeding the game up. They're really efficient throwing the ball through the air. As much as fun as it is to make fun of Russell Wilson, they've started to improve a little bit on running the ball as well. And his defense has improved tremendously throughout the season, especially like their defensive front and actually even in their secondary as well, starting with Pat Surtain. So I'm going to go with Denver here. I'm going to ride with the hot hand.
Yeah, I actually am going to take Denver as well. The biggest thing for me, I think this Denver rushing attack or rushing defense, while it still is lackluster, they get after the quarterback really well, and they actually create turnovers. They're in the they're like tied for like 11th, I think, if you look
Mhm.
at all the teams with 12 turnovers, and a large majority of those have come in the last 6 weeks once they started winning football games. And the Lions have been turning over the football a lot. Specifically, if you look at Jared Goff's QBR, which is basically a rating that says you will win this many percent of games with quarterback playing at this level, he's been at 36.8, 77.8, 14.8, 52.8, and then a 79 in the last 5 games. And I think we're really kind of seeing more pressure of this offense being put on Jared Goff, and I think it's translating into more turnovers and poor play from Jared Goff. I do wish that he would play better. I am a little bit of a Jared Goff fan just because I think he got
Mhm.
done over a little dirty in LA, and especially I just feel bad for him personally. The year after he leaves, they go and win a Super Bowl. So uh, and so I want him to do well. I just think right now he's in a dip, and I think his play is going to have to elevate. And I just don't think this Denver team, like you said, they are the hot hand. I don't think that that's going to be a game where he can really come out and get it done, like
Yeah.
and do that. So we're both picking the Broncos, the away team, and the underdog. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.